Frankenstein's story opens with letters from Robert Walton to his sister. In these letters, Walton details his ambitious expedition to the North Pole, a place he has longed to explore since childhood. He expresses his excitement and high hopes for the journey, believing it will lead to significant discoveries and fulfill his dreams. In the letters dated December 11, March 28, and July 7, Walton shares his plans for the expedition. He explains that he sailed on boats that could venture as far north as boats allow, and traveled overland to Archangel, then to the very far north. In the letter dated August 5th, Walton recounts a strange experience that occurred during his expedition. Ice and fog surrounded Walton's ship, and when the fog cleared, Walton and his crew saw a dog sled in the distance, driven by a mysterious giant man. The next morning, Walton's sailor spotted a dog sled on a piece of floating ice with a single surviving dog. It resembled the dog sled they'd seen the day before, though only one dog was still alive. There was a weakened man in the sled. He was as thin as a rail, and it looked as though he had been through a lot of trouble and pain. At the ship, the man initially spoke to no one, but after a few days, he finally spoke and said that he was after someone who had run away from him. Walton then began to talk to him more and more. In the letter dated August 13, the man was getting better every day, and Walton felt a deeper connection to him. Walton shared his ambitious plan to reach the North Pole, telling the man that he would risk everything in his expedition, including lives, for the sake of scientific discovery. The man let out a terrible cry and then began to tell Walton his story.
The man began his story by introducing himself as Victor Frankenstein. He was the first son of the best-known family in Switzerland. He grew up in Geneva alongside his adopted sister, Elizabeth, and his two younger brothers, Ernest and William. He had one close friend, Henry. Victor was a man of science from a young age. When he was 15, he realized what true science is after witnessing how lightning could destroy a tree. When Victor was 70, he went to university in Germany to study science. He decided to study chemistry and made some discoveries. Then he decided to explore human biology. Studying biology led him to discover the secret of life and to think about creating a new kind of man. He started to gather everything together, cutting up dead bodies. He began his work and spent a year without connecting his family. One night, his work was finally finished. However, the outcome of Victor's creation was horrifying. Instead of a beautiful man, his appearance was more like a monster. That night, he was horrified by the monster and couldn't sleep, haunted by nightmares. He then woke up and saw the creator leave his bed cover, so he ran outside. The next day, his best friend Henrik came to the university to study and took care of Victor, who had become sick. Once better, Victor avoided studying science and attended class with Henry instead. One day, Victor received a letter from his father informing him that his youngest brother, William, had been murdered. Victor left the house and rushed back to Geneva. On his way home, he saw the monster from a distance and immediately knew that the monster was the one who killed William. When he arrived home, Ernest, his younger brother, told Victor that Justine, a young woman adopted by the family, had been found guilty and hanged. The police found a pin of their mother's pictures that William had been carrying in Justine's pocket.
After the incident, Victor isolated himself in the following months, unable to face his family. While clubbing one day, he met the monster. Victor couldn't bear his anger, but the creature insisted that Victor listened to his story. The monster started his story. He was born fully grown and could see, hear, feel, and smell. But he didn't understand anything around him. He left the house as Victor ran away from him. Deep in the woods, he found a tiny shack to stay in. Next to the shack was a cottage where the Delacy family lived. The monster watched them through a small crack in the wall for a long time. The monster had learned many things from them. One day, the family went into town, and the old blind man, Delacy, was left alone in the cottage. The monster then came to the cottage and shared his feeling with Delacy. Delacy listened patiently and offered advice. But when the rest of the family returned, everything changed. They saw the monster and were terrified. The monster was broken-hearted. He thought that maybe, just maybe, the Delacy would accept him. But they rejected him just like everyone else. He then ran away from the cottage. After this incident, the Delacy family left the cottage. The monster, feeling angry, burned down the cottage. His anger turned toward Victor, blaming him for his pain and loneliness. The monster decided to find Victor and make him pay. The monster then traveled to Switzerland. On his way to Geneva, he saw a little girl who fell into the river. He saved her, but the girl screamed for help. A group of men came, and one of them shot the monster. Feeling sad and hurt, he continued his journey.
One day, the monster reached Geneva. He found a young, handsome child who was lost in the forest. It was William. The monster grabbed his hand, but William screamed and said the monster can't hurt him, since he was part of a well-known family, the Frankenstein family. Hearing that name, the monster became angry and tried to quiet William by grabbing his throat, but accidentally killed him. Then he took William's pin. Later, the monster came across a young woman in a barn. She was Justine. He believed that no woman would ever accept him, so he decided to frame Justine for William's death by placing William's pin in her pocket. At the end of this monster story, he said that he would bring sadness and harm to all of Victor's loved ones unless Victor did one thing. He would make a wife for the monster. After the monster finished his story, Victor didn't know what to do. At first, he refused to make a companion for the monster, but after remembering the people he loved, he agreed. Frankenstein went to England with his friend Henry. Then they agreed to part ways and meet again in a few months. Victor worked to create another creature on Hats on an island near Scotland. However, Victor decided to stop and broke his promise to the monster, as he feared the new creature might be as evil as the first one. Because of that, the monster became very angry. The monster then left after saying he would be on Victor's wedding night.
Victor threw the creature's remains into the sea and rowed out to the sea in a small boat. A storm hit, and he was swept away. Eventually, he washed up on the shores in Ireland. In Ireland, he was accused of murder and taken to court. The men claimed that they had found the body of a young man and believed that Victor had killed him. When Victor saw the body, he realized it was Henry, his best friend. The monster had killed Henry. Victor fainted, and he woke up. He was in prison. His father proved in court that Victor had not killed Henry. After all the terrible things that happened, Victor married Elizabeth. On their wedding night, Victor worried about the monster, and suddenly he heard Elizabeth scream. He ran to her room and found her dead, strangled by the monster. Victor tried to shoot, but the monster escaped. Victor went back to Geneva and told his father about Elizabeth's death, but his father died from sadness for Elizabeth's death. Victor became very sad and spent 2 months in a madhouse. And when he got better, he tried to tell the story to the judge, and he promised to find and kill the monster, even if it meant chasing him for the rest of his life. After losing everything in Geneva, Victor Frankenstein decided to leave and began the chase after the monster. In the north, he barely survived until Walton's ship found him.
Victor finished his story by saying he had lost the monster. He asked Victor not to help him, but if he dies and they find the monster, he must show the monster no mercy. After Walton wrote Victor Frankenstein's story, he started writing letters to his sister. In the letter, dated September 5, Walton tells his sister about his thoughts after hearing Victor's story. He is deeply affected but wonders if it's true since Walton feels Victor is a little mad when he talks about the monster. Walton says he wanted to become Victor's friend, but Victor refused, as he said his purpose in life now is to kill the monster. In the letter, dated September 8, the ice has closed around them again. The men asked to sail back home. Walton reflects on what he has learned from Victor's experiences. He realizes that chasing his dream could endanger the lives of his crew. So, he promises the men that they will go back. In the letter, dated September 12, as the ice begins to break, Walton tells Victor about his decision. Victor encourages him, but he says that he can't go with him. He must find and destroy the monster. Victor told Walton again that if he ever sees the monster, he must kill him. After saying this, he passed away with a smile upon his face. Victor Frankenstein had died. When Walton went back to his cabin to finish his letter, he found the monster standing over Frankenstein's body. The creature tells Victor how sorry he is and says that he never wanted to be evil from the beginning. He only became evil because of the way he was treated by everyone. He was driven mad by his loneliness. The monster then tells Walton that he is going to leave and die alone, as he has always lived. The creature jumps out of the window of the cabin, disappearing into the ice. The creature dies alone, far away from anyone who could have loved him. This is the end of the Frankenstein story.